Hello there, and thanks for tuning into my channel. This is episode 4 in my spiritual journey series, where we're talking about my journey into and out of fundamentalist Christianity. Now, if you haven't watched the series up to this point, I just want to give you a disclaimer. This is not like a deconstruction series talking about like leaving Christianity or anything like that. I'm still a Christian. I'm still a believer in God. I still read the Bible and things like that. So I haven't like left Christianity, but from the fundamentalist point, I have left that fundamentalist form of Christianity. And we're going to be talking about that. So I would encourage you to go back and watch episodes 1 through 3 if you haven't already seen those. But I'll just do a very brief recap of like the last episode. So in the last episode, we talked about where I was in the IFB movement, the Independent Fundamental Baptist movement. I had graduated Bible college. I switched my membership to a different IFB church that I thought was going to be like a little bit less legalistic and maybe a little bit healthier of a church environment. But soon found out that there was still some core problems in that movement. Now, I won't get into all the details about what I talked about in that episode, but you can always go back and watch it. But one thing that I didn't cover in there was how I left the IFB movement, like what I did at the very end of 2020, how I communicated with the pastor of that church that I was leaving and things like that. Now, I think I did talk about this in another episode that I did on my channel. It might have been somewhere in my Unmasking Religion series. I don't know exactly which episode that was off the top of my head, but so you might be a little bit familiar with what I'm about to tell you, but if not, I'm just doing it for the sake of this series because I think it's important in my spiritual journey series. So we talked about how there was a certain event that basically was like the linchpin or the final straw that convinced me and my wife to leave the IFB. And that was basically the pastor slandering someone from the pulpit publicly. And it was like streamed live on Facebook and things like that. Although he didn't mention them by name, I think many people knew who he was talking about. And I talked with my wife about that. We both saw that was like extremely inappropriate for a pastor to do something like that, to say something like that from the pulpit. I mean, you really shouldn't say it in front of anybody, but especially not on a public platform, from behind a pulpit and being streamed publicly on like Facebook Live. So anyway, we decided to leave. My wife and I had like a weekend trip, like a 3-day weekend trip planned, basically. And so we were going to be gone that Sunday, but I decided to go ahead. I typed out a letter basically letting the pastor know that I had some disagreements with the whole IFB movement and that we're basically going to be trying to find a church that's more aligned with our core values and our beliefs and things like that. And I told him that I didn't wish him I didn't have any ill feelings or bitterness or anything towards him or towards the church, but I just felt that we were kind of like outgrowing that movement. So I wrote this letter, I typed it out, and then I wound up putting it in the mail to be sent as we were leaving for this trip. Now, the next week, I think it was on a Tuesday because I think there was like a holiday weekend or something like that. Maybe it was like New Year's Day or something like that. Yeah, I think it was New Year's Day. The next day was a Tuesday, and I got this text from my pastor. Now, in this letter that I wrote, I told him basically that we planned to keep going to the church for about like 2 or 3 more weeks, and then kind of to like say our goodbyes to everyone and stuff, and then we would start looking for a new church after that. But so in this text, he texted me and let me know, we're sorry to hear that you're leaving, and I understand some of the issues that you see with the IFB and everything. By the way, sorry to stop this or to interrupt this little segment, but I know I'm recording outside and it's not too far from the highway, so I apologize if you hear highway traffic and stuff like that, but I just wanted to try something different for this episode. So let me know in the comments if you like this better or if you prefer my more normal setting of recording in the car. I just wanted to try something a little bit different this time. Anyway, so I got this text from the pastor. He let me know he was sorry that we were leaving and everything, and he wished the best for us and stuff like that. Well, I honestly didn't quite expect that. I thought maybe there would be a lot more criticism. So that was kind of like, okay, well, maybe he's not, maybe I've misjudged or misrepresented some things about him or about this church. So, we were still planning to go back to, fulfill our obligation of continuing to go to that church for at least the next 2 weeks. But then Wednesday night rolls around. We have our Wednesday night service, and whenever Wednesday gets there, we the pastor texts the church members, or someone texts the church members and lets us know that the pastor has COVID, because this was during the whole coronavirus epidemic, and so his family had COVID, and really there was a lot of people already gone for different trips and stuff that they were going to be out of town for and things like that. So they basically canceled that Wednesday night service. Well, they didn't cancel it completely. They went to basically live stream only for that Wednesday night. And the pastor did it from his home. Even though he had COVID, he still preached Facebook Live. And essentially it was like this woe is me type of sermon, type of message, where he was talking about how we're in the end times, and this is the great falling away, where God's people are leaving the church, and there's only a select few that are faithful, that are the faithful remnant, and people are leaving us during this time of crisis where we're in this coronavirus epidemic, where lots of churches are struggling to keep their membership up. And then we have these servants, these people that, and he said these Bible college graduates, these young people, and I knew he was referring to me and my wife when he said that although he didn't mention us exactly by name, but let's be real, we all know who he was talking about. And he said we're basically leaving the church to pursue our wildest dreams, and it was just a complete message of slander, woe is me. We're just that these people are just abandoning us to go and do and live in the world and just live away from God and things like that, which was complete it was just completely and utterly false, because I told him that we weren't leaving Christianity. I told him that we loved God, we loved the Bible, but we just didn't feel like the church aligned with how I saw the Bible and things like that, and how I think Christianity should be represented. So we were basically publicly slandered from the pulpit, and yeah, so essentially, you probably have, if you haven't figured out by now, we didn't stay the last 2 weeks that going to that church like we planned. I turned off the Facebook Live message a little bit early because I just couldn't stand it, all the slander and the lies and the hypocrisy coming from there. And that just basically proved what it confirmed our decision to leave even more solidly. So the next Sunday we started visiting other different churches, and we were honestly quite shocked because we had always been told that all these other churches, like non-denominational churches and Southern Baptist churches and more progressive churches, we had always heard that all these churches were just liberal compromisers that hated the Bible, and they didn't love God, and they just didn't have a close relationship with God. They just wanted to live worldly and everything like that. And I found out that almost the complete opposite was true. We visited, my wife and I probably visited over a dozen churches that year before we decided to go to the church that we're going to now, it just happens to be a Southern Baptist church. Not because we were looking for a Southern Baptist church, but we just happened to feel the most at home there, and we were received well by the pastor and a lot of the people there. But we visited several different church denominations and things like that, and really were pleasantly surprised at how loving these people were and how much they loved God and loved the Bible. Although at the time, we came from a King James only church, and all these other churches, they didn't, most of them were not King James only. They used the ESV or NIV or different versions of the Bible, but we can get into that in a different episode. So anyway, yeah, we started looking for all these other churches, or we went to all these other churches, and then we finally landed at the church that we're at now. And we decided when we joined that church, I talked to my wife because we had been used to volunteering for ministries, getting super involved in all the different church ministries and things like that. But I told my wife, I was like, you know what, I think it's time for a spiritual reset. I think it's time for us to maybe take a year and just soak in the preaching, soak in the Bible, and going into a healthy church environment that wasn't all legalistic and just a lot of negativity being preached, but and it was a very helpful time in our spiritual journey, in my own spiritual journey. Now, I'm probably not gonna go too much further in this episode. I think I'm gonna keep it pretty short for right now, because there's some other topics that I wish to talk about, but I think those would be better to separate that into a different episode, just to kind of keep this episode singular theme. So we wound up finding this church. We really liked it and everything. Made a lot of friends there. Still have some good friends there to this day. So I just want to encourage you, if you feel stuck in some kind of legalistic church environment or in some kind of legalistic fundamentalist movement, I just want to give you a little bit of hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a saying that I like. It's from the movie The Dark Knight, with Batman, The Dark Knight. And I think the saying goes the night is darkest just before the dawn. And that's truly how it felt at the time. That it just felt like it was an extremely dark season. The devil was just trying to keep me stuck in this fundamentalist type environment. But eventually we broke away from it, and it was so liberating and freeing. And I found a new appreciation for God, for Jesus, and for the Bible, when I realized that it wasn't just this extremely tight, close-knit group of God's faithful remnant of people that had the one true religion. We're gonna go ahead and end this episode here. If you liked this video, if you like the way that I filmed this, I'm sorry if I'm shaking a little bit. It's kind of cold out here this morning, which honestly I love it. I like the colder weather now that it's starting to get to be fall. But let me know if you like this, the way that I'm filming this today outside, or if you prefer the normal way that I record. Let me know your thoughts about the episode. If you have any similar experiences or anything like that, or anything you'd like to share, just any thoughts, I always appreciate that. Anyway, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. God bless, and we'll see you next time.